Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm a sex and relationship coach, and I am here to help you understand the difference between chemistry and compatibility. So, first, before we get into that, I want to share a little bit more about who I am and why I'm here to help you on this journey. So, I have a community of nearly 200,000 followers on TikTok. I'm a verified creator. That means I am an expert in the field and I have numerous articles within the framework of sex and relationships. I teach about pleasure, intimacy, communication, dating, sex, and more through the Your Pleasure Path podcast, through online workshops, through one on one coaching, group programs, and my social media channels. And so, what I like to do is I like to combine my education and knowledge within the fields of psychology, spirituality, and sexuality to help create education that is holistic in nature. This includes understanding why we are the way we are, understanding how our brain works, deconditioning some of those patterns that we have so that we are able to show up differently in relationships and actually attract and experience the relationships that we desire, whether that's platonic, sexual, or otherwise. I support clients regardless of gender, expression, sexual orientation, kinks, fantasies, you name it. I've done it. I'm also open to supporting people in non monogamous relationship structures as well. So, with that being said, I fully believe in creating a life that's filled with pleasure. And I'm here to show you how to do that too. Some of the tools that I like to use within my clients too is I am trained and certified in neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and emotional freedom technique. And I combine that with my life coaching and sex education experience with client sessions and through these programs. So if you would like to learn more about me, go to yourpleasurepath.com and send me an email at catherine@yourpleasurepath.com. So now we are going to get into the difference between chemistry and compatibility. So, how do you know if you are compatible with someone? Now, I feel like with this topic, it can be really challenging to determine which is which. Part of this is because I feel like we were lied to. We were lied to by society, we were lied to by the media, we were lied to by like Disney movies, and we were lied to because we are taught that everything has this whole romantic, grand, sweeping gesture undertone that we're going to know when it's love at first sight and we're going to feel this butterflies and it's going to be magnetic attraction. But the reality of the situation is that actually, if you feel those butterflies that are coming in your stomach, like usually that is an indication of a trauma response and that you don't feel safe. So, what I want you to do today is set the intention that you're going to recondition, you're going to forget about everything that you were taught about love, compatibility, and chemistry. And we're just going to start from ground zero. So, when you meet someone, oftentimes we prioritize physical attraction. And while, yes, attraction is so important, especially when you're trying to establish a new connection with someone. It's not to say you can definitely have a lasting relationship with someone that you're not initially physically attracted to, because attraction can build over time. But what I want you to do is like think about when you meet someone or maybe even your past relationships, right? Sometimes, even if you have that foundation of the physical attraction, it can change over time. People's bodies change, their looks change. But what's really important to me is setting a foundation of values based compatibility. And I really like to do this by spending some time and taking out a journal and giving yourself an opportunity to write 5 of your main core values. This is going to be the things that you really prioritize yourself, so that when you are going on dates, when you're meeting people, maybe even the partner that you already have, you're able to see like, hey, do these values align? And are we going the same place? a lot of the times we might be afraid to lay it all out on the table when we're meeting people. So take a moment to take out a journal and think about your five main core values. These are going to be like kind of like your non-negotiables when it comes to dating and meeting someone new. For me personally, some of my non-negotiables are I'm looking for a partner who is like generous with their time, their energy, their money, because that's a quality that I have too. I'm very giving, I'm very generous. I give so much to my partners, my family, my friends, and I want someone that also mirrors back those same qualities. I'm also really attracted to people who are intelligent and love to learn, whether that's reading books, taking programs, like always continuing to expand their knowledge, podcasts, whatever. That's super important to me. Someone who's adventurous and loves to travel or try new foods or just does fun stuff on the weekend instead of just Netflix and chill every night. Some other really core values that are important to me, like I need someone who is understanding and accepting that I have more liberal political beliefs. I really want a partner who is supportive of my belief systems and that I care about human rights and I care about women's rights and reproductive rights. And so that to me is a non negotiable because this is something that I've created as my business. I need a partner who understands that and supports that, as well as someone who's family oriented because I want to be a parent, I want to be a mom. And so, as you can see, those are five core values here. It seems like they're pretty simple, but if you think about it, when you think about those values and they're values that you have yourself, it's going to be easier for you to find partners that also mirror those same traits. And when you are looking for a partner, make sure that if you see someone and you recognize, like, oh, wow, I'm super attracted to them, they're very charismatic. How can you start to embody more of those traits that you see in others that you feel like you don't have? Because oftentimes when we see other people and we admire some of their traits, they might be traits that we have, but maybe they're a little more underdeveloped. So think about, okay, what are some ways where I can feel more charismatic, where I can feel like I'm the center of attention? Maybe that's going to more networking events. Maybe it's doing speed dating. Maybe it's putting yourself in more situations where you're putting yourself out there. Maybe that's starting a podcast. Maybe it's posting on social media. It's doing all of these things to sort of take you out of your comfort zone. And then now we're going to go a little deeper into compatibility. And so here you can see on this slide that there are many different ways in which you can be compatible with someone. Now, the values based, I think, is like step number one, and that's so important that you have that, as well as like the relationship structure too, I think is very key because not everyone wants a monogamous relationship. But in terms of compatibility within your relational dynamic, these are the three main areas in which to make sure that you are compatible with someone. Number one is emotional compatibility. So what are your own emotional needs? And what do you expect of your partner to fulfill your emotional needs? This is going to be like trying to figure out like how do you communicate? Are you a moody person? I personally am, but I also tend to disconnect when I'm feeling moody. I sort of like isolate so that I am not taking out my shit on my partner or partners. It's really important to learn here, like what are your communication styles? Like how you deal when you're stressed, when you're frustrated, when you're angry. Do you go to bed angry? I know some relationship experts say no. I think it's so important to have space away from a trigger, but always come back to communicate. So figuring out how you deal with conflict and how you deal with your emotions is super, super important here. This is also something that you can look at is your attachment styles. If you want to learn more about that, you can purchase the Stop Dating Fuckboys workshop after this. The next step is intellectual compatibility. For me, this is something that's super important. I really value higher learning, as I mentioned in my five core values. And so for me, I really need that mental stimulation. I need someone that's going to communicate with me, who's going to have those late night chats until sometimes 2 a.m. talking about a whole range of topics. I'm someone who's addicted to reading and books and always learning. And so to me, having a partner who can match that energy, who has something to bring to the conversation, bring to the table, is really important. I don't care how hot you are. I don't care what junk you're working with. Like, if you're not able to stimulate my mind, I don't want you anywhere near my body. And so this is going to be something that you're going to have to figure out, like, what is important for you. And then we go into sexual compatibility. And this, I feel like, is actually some of the most challenging part when it comes to compatibility, because we go through what many of us know as the honeymoon phase. When we're first dating someone, we have that initial attraction, we're infatuated with them, we put on these like rose colored glasses, and we're like, wow, this person is absolutely amazing and incredible and they can do no wrong. Typically your libido tends to be higher at the beginning because you have this influx of oxytocin, dopamine, and you're just like, you're feeling really, really good. So the sexual compatibility might be off the charts at the beginning, but this is something that might start to wane as your relationship goes on. But it's so important to have that initial conversation about your sexual needs and desires at the beginning. I definitely recommend doing something like a yes, no, maybe list with your partner. It's also known as a BDSM checklist. This is a way for you to fill out the form yourself and write out like what you like, what's I don't know, and a hard limit. And I think what's really important with this is like having this open forum essentially with your partner or partners about like what you actually desire and what you need. Something also to discuss is like, what are your expectations for foreplay? How frequent do you want to have sexual intimacy? Like, do you need your emotional needs met first before you're able to connect sexually? Um, are there any things that are a hard limit for you? For me, it's choking. If anyone touches my neck, like that's a hard pass. It's a full red light stop and I'm done and I cannot recover from that. So knowing your boundaries and being able to communicate that is super important so that you can get into an amazing sexual experience and also know like if your partner, maybe you're with a partner and you choke them and they're not into it and that stops and you don't know how to recover from that. So this is sort of like setting you up for success by building that conversation and creating safety in the connection. Another important thing to talk about here is on like safe sex, and so use of like condoms, on testing, on how do you define cheating. And this one I think is very, very, very important. And many couples do not do this. I think also the assumption that's happened in the last like several years is that there's this weird like talking phase, which in reality, you're dating. If you're talking, you're dating. And a lot of people don't define like the boundaries in which the relationship lies. And that's where a lot of heartache comes, because there's not that defined structure of like what is okay, what is not, what are my expectations and needs, what are yours, and how can we meet in a compromise in the middle. Because relationships require compromise. We're not always going to get what we want, but your boundaries and your limits are valid. And so having that conversation around what they are key to making a relationship work, especially in the bedroom. So conversations around boundaries can be on like physical acts. This can be like, how do you feel about porn use? Like, is this something that you're okay with? I'm a huge supporter of porn use and masturbation within a relationship. Whether you're single or partnered, I think it's great. I think it's a great tool, but maybe having boundaries about that. What do you feel about sliding into DMs of other people or flirting with other people or going on dates with other people or kissing other people? Figuring out where the boundaries lie are going to help you so much in the future so that you're not breeding resentment. So that is very clear communication. And then once you do that, it's so important to think about other ways in which compatibility can happen in a relationship. Other things to consider is financial compatibility, especially if this is someone that you are planning a future with or want to have kids with. You need to make sure you align on the same level on like how you treat your finances. Are you a saver? Are you an investor? Like, what's important to you? Creativity. How do you operate? Another thing that we need to think about too is like, especially when we're moving in with a partner, is like, what is your schedule, your sleep schedule? How much time off do you need? Do you need a lot of time to decompress, or are you wanting to spend every single waking minute with your partner? So the more that you spend this time in like this self-discovery realm, the easier it will be to have the conversations with your partner and make sure that you are on the same page and setting up your relationship for success. If this training was helpful for you and you would like more, click the link below and sign up for a free one-on-one call with me so that I can help you experience more love, pleasure, and unbelievable sex in your relationships, because you deserve love and you deserve to have the relationship of your dreams.